The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
And welcome to the September 13th edition of the Opinionators. I am Larry Deani, and this is a brand new season for our political opinion program, and we're on a brand new set, but we have our traditional panel with us, and of course you know that they each represent a particular political philosophy. Representing the Conservative Party, Tara Crugnale, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Larry.
And Ron Corsini, you're in the middle. Politically as well as physically. Welcome back to the show.
It's been great to be back, and this is the hot seat, especially on today's first topic.
And on my right, Alex Johnstone, but on the left politically, representing the NDP. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. But I would say that Ron isn't quite in the middle. I'd say he's, to the right of the middle.
All right, we're going to start quibbling already. Well, listen, folks, it's great to be back here. And of course, I remind the guests watching that we have 4 topics that they're going to discuss and banter back and forth, and of course a lightning round as well. And then I get to share an opinion too. So let's get right at it. And Tara, we're going to start with you. And the very first topic has to do with the Education Premier, Dalton McGuinty, who touted himself as the Education Premier, but really bullying teachers, some think, over the last little while, because he has not only frozen wages with the help of your party, but he's also imposed some very strict contractual rules around striking or not striking for the next 2 years. Tara, some of the teachers are saying, in fact, they've launched a lawsuit wanting to go to the Supreme Court if they have to. What do you make of this scenario? Who's right in this fight?
Well, I am actually glad that Dalton McGuinty has taken some first steps in rectifying the issue with teachers. It's very difficult to battle teachers, as we saw in the Mike Harris years, even the Bob Rae years before. It seems that when a government, regardless of what political stripe it is, once they get into power, they see the money in the pot and they realize that that is not going to go as far as once hoped. So we are very supportive of the initiatives of the Liberal government, if you can believe it, Larry, and we just hope that this is the first step moving forward.
Well, Ron, you're in a special situation because you're in a school.
Yes.
And yet, you support this party. What do you think?
Well, I support the party and I support what they're trying to get at. I have reservations about how they got there. I mean, the Catholic school teachers in Ontario have reluctantly signed on to this new agreement, but this new agreement also affects people like myself as being a support worker in a school environment. So I have some reservations about how the government went about this. I understand all about the austerity issues and things of that nature and how we got to cut back and do our part, but it was the manner of which it was implemented that bothered me mostly.
Well, now you're in an interesting position because obviously the NDP were the only ones who voted against this legislation, and yet you're a trustee, an elected trustee as well with the Hamilton Public School Board. And essentially, the government is helping you balance your budget. So how do you feel about this?
Well, Larry, I have to wonder who writes Dalton McGuinty's speaking notes, because he just flip-flops on the issue. The weeks leading up to the election, he was going hard, giving the hard line against the teachers, all kinds of mudslinging, false accusations, trying to scare Kitchener-Waterloo voters that there was going to be a strike come the first day of school, which was never true. And as soon as the election's over and the legislation's passed, all of a sudden we hear McGuinty in the paper saying that he understands and sympathizes with the teachers, and it's a very different tone. This was all about an election, and they thought that if they went hard on the teachers that they would gain the support of Kitchener-Waterloo, and that backfired. And I hope that McGuinty listens going forward.
This goes further than just an election in 1 or 2 ridings. We've seen this problem progressing, and we needed to get an agreement on the table, and things just weren't moving fast enough. We had to make sure that teachers couldn't strike.
They were never going to strike.
But you don't know, Alex. We can say that about
anyone.
Exactly, we can say it about anyone.
Why don't we lock out the government? They might strike.
I think that teachers should be considered an essential service.
They were never going to strike. You're stripping people's rights.
I don't think they were going to strike, but there was an urgency to have this resolved before the school year, because otherwise their increases in pay would have rolled over as of September the 1st. So that was an issue.
And now they're threatening to take it out on students by canceling after-school programs.
They volunteer those after-school programs. So, you know, if the government really respected teachers and were interested in putting students first, as the Act claims, then they would be paying teachers for the work that they do.
I think that it's very difficult. It's very difficult for the regular mom and pop at home with kids to really see what the issue is here when it comes to pay for teachers. We're
perhaps going to come back to what's happening in the schools, especially with some job actions that have initiated. That's a different topic, but you've raised it already, and we're going to go to you, Ron, on this. You've raised the issue of the by-elections. And the by-elections were obviously a disappointment for your premier, for our premier as a provincial, but the premier that you represent here on this program, because he was hoping for a majority. He wanted Vaughan, which he got, but he lost Kitchener-Waterloo. Andrew Horwath was really pumped by that by-election because it was a strong Tory seat for 22 years, and it went to the NDP. So what does that say? Will McGuinty try again to get will he offer another seat somewhere? What's going to happen?
If the situation arises, I don't think he'll offer another person to give up another seat. If that situation arises, yes, we'll go for it, and we will try to get a majority government, because it'll work a lot better than it's working now, because there's no security in it now. People do not want another election this soon. Otherwise, we would have had one already. But the Kitchener-Waterloo situation was different. You had an NDP candidate who was extremely popular, and I've fought against NDP candidates in previous elections, and they do bring in the troops. They bring them from all over Ontario, and no one campaigns like they do.
Well, they had 700 people. Were you helping out?
I was. I was over there several times. And, well, I'm a school board trustee, and Catherine is a personal friend of mine. She was president of the Ontario School Board Association, and so that's why I was knocking on doors for her. And what's interesting is that there was actually school board trustees who came across the province from every single party, including the Conservative and Liberal Party, who were knocking on doors for Catherine because she was that phenomenal of a person.
Well, I think the candidates are very important in any election.
No, not really, not in a general election.
Well, at that election, this candidate for the NDP party in by-election was
traditionally in a regular election, a great candidate will boost your numbers about 5% in a riding. In a by-election, I mean, all hands off deck, because you had very strange circumstances here. Dalton McGuinty wasn't asking for a vote of confidence in the House, but when it came here to Kitchener-Waterloo, he was basically telling the people, please, I want you to give me a majority government. So it was like a vote of confidence right there, and he definitely didn't get it. And Alex, I have to commend you. The entire time you were looking at those polls, you were knocking on the doors, and you could feel the beat of the riding. And it's something that I really didn't see coming. I didn't see it swinging that way. Now, was it a true blue riding? It was an Elizabeth Whitmer riding for 22 years, and she was more of a red Tory. So, I mean, I could have seen it swing towards the Liberals. I'm surprised that the NDP didn't push harder in Vaughan.
Well, that was, I think, a very safe seat.
Well, but when we come to the issue of the teachers, because definitely a lot of unions were getting involved to make a point to Dalton McGuinty, that's why I'm saying that perhaps they could have pushed harder in that other.
They didn't have enough of them because they were all in Kitchener-Waterloo. I mean, they only got so many, so they all had to go there.
You only have so many. Big union bosses to go around, and they were all at Kitchener-Waterloo.
And they were all there. Say, pick one.
That was such a sore loser comment. To come out in the papers the next day and blame it on the unions. I mean,
I don't think
go home with your ball type deal.
I don't think so. I thought that was a good comment.
I think that, you know what, it is a little, you know what though, it is a little bit distressing as someone that does not belong to a union, as someone that is just one vote going to the ballot box. To me, it is distressing that a large union can have that much of an effect on a riding in an election.
But you know what it was? It was because Dalton was trying to pit Kitchener-Waterloo against the teachers. Teachers are our favorite people.
I don't know.
And it backfired. It doesn't work. The public sympathizes with the teachers.
Well, in by-elections, let's not forget, by-elections are a time when governments are usually slapped around a little bit.
Yeah, but I disagree with you on
conservatives
that
should have
one
gotten
issue.
in, and I think that it was a vote against McGuinty. It was a vote against certainly the Conservatives.
Well,
and at the same time,
you couldn't expect them to go
Catherine Fife
conservative.
was very
Alex.
popular, and it's because she reaches out to everyone.
But Alex, if the unions were going anti-liberal, of course they'd be going anti-conservative as well.
Yes.
There was nowhere else for them to go.
You don't hear the NDP blaming big business and big corporation
you blame us for everything.
Every time a conservative candidate gets in or a
Alex,
liberal candidate gets in,
you
we
always
own our own.
blame big business and corporations for everything.
No, we don't.
All ills of the world.
When's the last time you've heard Andrea Horvath come out and make a press release? Oh, a conservative got in because the big CEO bosses came out and threw their weight.
They usually talk about big money, though.
They talk about big money, but those guys
not made a press release like that. No. And I think it was a sore loss. And you know, McGuinty and Hudak, they need to listen to their voters, and what this means is that their platform isn't resonating with the public, and they need to build a platform that does.
It's very difficult for us to have a comprehensible backgrounder on our policies when the Liberals seem to be stealing them all right now.
I don't think so.
Well, listen,
I do.
Speaking of policies and provincial policies, and this one's for you, Alex, we're going to bring it home to Hamilton because Hamilton's found a shortfall of about $7 million because of reduced budgets as a result of the austerity programs, and to help the most marginalized people on those programs. And of course, what that means is that city councils had to come up with a shortfall. So they funded about half of that. But the rest, they are unwilling to fund because one of the councillors said, we're letting the province off the hook. What are the implications of that, Alex?
I think it's very scary. A lot of people their lives are going to be dramatically changed for the worse. And especially in Hamilton, where we have 20% poverty, these austerity measures hit cities like Hamilton and Windsor particularly hard. It's not, when you make an austerity cut, it's going to affect those cities with higher rates of poverty a lot worse than it is going to hit cities that don't have these levels of poverty. And I think that Tom Cooper from the Hamilton Poverty Roundtable said it best, that we need a provincial government that's committed to our most vulnerable. We're literally paying off our debts on the backs of the poor.
So
that's
and on the backs of my taxes too.
And
should City Council have paid the full amount?
No, but we need to have more leadership from the province.
Okay. Tara, what do you think?
Again, very difficult. I don't think that there's any way that we can afford to pay for everything that would make everyone's lives comfortable in the province of Ontario. I don't have the answer. I don't think any of us actually have the answer. If we did, more power to us, and then hope we're king of Canada. But what are we supposed to do? We have to budget the books. We have to balance the books. And unfortunately, yes, there are people that are going to fall through the cracks. We have to implement programs that perhaps don't cost as much money, but are more volunteer-based, because no one should be left behind. But unfortunately, I think that communities like Hamilton, people end up gravitating here because of our lower rents, because of our social services, and so we end up becoming this industry
capital
of social
Ontario.
services.
We've lost a lot of business.
You know what happens?
Ron, go ahead.
You know what happens? A lot of this money could be saved if rent was paid directly to the landlord. Then there would not be any evictions of people, and they end up on the streets and being homeless. As a landlord, this has happened to me many, many times, where the tenant automatically stops paying rent. I don't have the money. So for 3 months until you get an eviction, you can't allow them to stay there for nothing. I've had also tenants that have signed on to have their rent paid by the trustee or have their rent paid by Ontario Works, and it's been great because they've been there for years and years and years as good tenants because the rent is paid on time. That's all the landlord asks. Pay your rent on time and you could stay here for a long time. And it happens every day. the Landlord-Tenant Act, you know, you don't pay your rent, then what happens? You're out on the street. So this $7 million, people go to this $7 million pool and say, I need first month's and I need last month's rent to get an apartment. So they take money out of this fund and they give it to that person, and that maybe lasts 6 months to a year, and they get evicted from that property, and then they go on and on and on. So this $7 million is never ending. If people knew, and you know what, and the tenant has to sign on. You can't force them to. You can't force them to because of their dignity and all that. But this is how they become homeless. They become homeless because a lot of them have other challenges that they're dealing with. And they won't lose their home if they pay the rent.
Okay, fair enough.
I think the problem here is that, you know, I find it very concerning when I hear that, oh, we can't afford to help the most vulnerable in our society. And that's really what I'm hearing. Other countries have it figured out. Countries over in Europe, they're able to.
Most countries in Europe are facing
because they're going through an austerity program much more severe than ours.
Scandinavian countries have it figured out. I see us moving more towards, you know, a United States model, and it doesn't work out down there. When we talk about, you know, oh, we have to balance the budget, well, if that's true, why didn't we raise taxes, you know, on corporations? Why didn't
How much do you want to
why
raise
didn't we
taxes,
raise the revenue
Alex?
coming from, say, mining companies, you know, all kinds of resource extraction companies? Why is it that we can't raise revenue, but we can, you know, cut programs that are needed by the most vulnerable of our society?
Alex, you always find the same scapegoat, and if that one scapegoat could pay for all the ills of Canada, I'd be very surprised.
The problem is I don't see it being dipped into at all.
All right, well, I'm going to stop there, and that's another topic as well that at some point we'll get back to also. But here's a fourth topic, and we're going to come to you with this because it deals with your school board. Not that you're speaking on behalf of the school board here.
No.
But it has to do with a father who is taking your school board to court as the result of some religious beliefs that he has that he feels are being infringed on. Supporting him are some conservative Christians as well as Muslims who don't want their kids exposed to what they see as immoral education. And of course, they are going to court on this, and there's been a fair amount of publicity. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, Larry, that I think that this is an opportunity for the school board to certainly define our values, define, you know, what it is that who we are as a public institution, a public education institution. I think that it'll be interesting to see where this case goes. Recently in Quebec, actually back in the spring, there was a similar case that went through and lost, where Justice Deschamps, I believe it was, the family was arguing that they should be able to pull their kid out of school, and that where the school board was providing education around homosexuality, that was infringing on their beliefs and their right as a parents to pass on their beliefs to their children. What Justice Deschamps ruled was that it's actually not only the school board's right, but the responsibility to bring kids up in a multicultural society, and that the education reflect the diversity of Canada. So I think that this is an opportunity, and we'll see how it plays out.
Well, Ron, in your school board, of course, there was a whole controversy around the gay straight alliances. But you're not being taken to court. I don't think your school board is being taken to court. What do you make of this issue?
No, well, we're complying. It depends on what words you want to use. I believe that this father should either homeschool his children if he wants to keep them bubble wrapped. And we live in a very diverse society. I mean, there are different people all over the place. A lot of kids grow up with two moms or two dads, and that seems to be fine for them. They don't have a problem with it. If this parent has a problem with this issue, then he should seek some other form of education for his children. If there are other Christian schools that private Christian schools that he could afford to send them to, then so be it. But I think blinding these kids to what's out there in the real world is wrong. And let them decide whether they want to accept this form of lifestyle or not.
Tara?
Well, you guys are being very diplomatic and kind, but I really have no patience for religious fanatics of any stripe. You know, I keep them all in the same group. You know, you can teach your kid whatever racist, homophobic, paternalistic, male chauvinistic things you want to do in your own home, but once you get into our school system, I pay my taxes, and I want our schools to teach these kids the right way so they actually have a fighting chance in the 21st century. Because, you know, I don't think that any of the things that these people believe should be promoted or should be coddled, and we just have to call a spade, and that's about it.
All right, but he has a right to go to court, and that's what he's doing.
Well, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, of wasting our taxpayers' money. Yeah, he does. He absolutely does.
Well, we finished with the 4 topics. We're on to the lightning round now. And Ron, we're going to come to you with the first topic. Remember, about a 20, 30-second comment, and we're just going to go right around the room. And the first one has to do with the federal government cutting ties with Iran. In fact, closing the embassy. And of course, we saw what happened in a couple of other countries, very tragically. But Canada closed and has been criticized by some, has been applauded by others for doing this. What's your take on it?
I agree with the government on closing this embassy in Iran. I believe if they have solid evidence that there is some form of terrorism, and this dictator who runs the country is a wacko anyway, and that's why most of those people most people want to immigrate to Canada, because we live in a free society. So if there is any indication that a country is harboring terrorism, then we should have nothing to do with them.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more. I think that this should have been done a long time ago. We can't just play nice in the UN or in other organizations with countries that we know they need a new leader. I don't think that there's any two ways about it, and I don't think that we should have anything to do with it. And I applaud Stephen Harper for what he did.
Alex.
Why now? That's my question. You know, why he talks about that, you know, this is support for certainly for the U.S. and for England in terms of the relations between Iran and those two countries. But that was news stories that took place back in the spring. So why are we taking this, you know, dramatic action right now? I just think that with Canada, this could have been done in a way that was a lot more diplomatic, and I think that that this certainly exasperated tensions, and
all right,
that's
I'm going to have to stop because you're out of time, and we're going to come back to you, Ron, on this one. And this one has to do with an announcement that the federal government seems to be making regularly around stripping people who have lied on their applications to become citizens of this country, immigrants who want to become citizens of this country, and have become so, stripping them of their citizenship if they found that they lied on their application somehow.
Well, you see that
3,100 people have been targeted. Only 19 have ever been dismissed. What do you make of that?
Well, you see how popular Canada is. People will do anything to get into this country. There are cases where we have to look at individually. There's a case here in Hamilton with a mom, and there are some conflicts about what she did, Lucien Charles, what she did on her application to remain a citizen. But we look at case by case. She is an honest, hardworking, not Canadian, she's not a citizen yet, but person. And I think that looking at that case, she should be allowed to stay.
Okay, time. Alex, is there a political spin here by the government, though?
I think it is, right? It's all about the image that they're cracking down. And as you pointed out, there's only been 19 cases that have been fully processed through. And I think that I completely agree with Ron. We need to be looking at this at a case-by-case basis.
Well, and I think that's exactly what we're doing. Sure, only 19 have been deported thus far because these cases take years to churn through the courts, and that's to give everyone their day in court. So that's why it takes so long for this to happen. It's almost like they want us to, you know, if you have to wait long enough, maybe we'll just give up and forget about it. But no, that's why we're aiming for these 3,100, and we hope to have them deported.
All right.
Come in here legally.
Well, here's one for you, Tara, and this is good news for the Prime Minister, actually good news for the country, if we were to believe this, although it's being criticized, that the Prime Minister was actually hailed as a world statesman by an organization called the Appeal of Conscience Foundation, founded by a rabbi in the States, Arthur Schneier. He was made a statesman by this foundation.
Yep.
Good news, right?
I think it's fantastic news, and I hope that we don't have to be too partisan about it. It's very nice when our Prime Minister of Canada is applauded for his actions around the world. This is something that Jean Charest picked up in the past, and I know that Stephen Harper will be picking up this award in the States later on this year.
Well, I think it started with Jean Charest putting Canada on the world center and world stage.
Chrétien or Charest?
Chrétien.
What did I say?
You said Charest.
Oh, I meant Chrétien.
Chrétien.
Sorry.
Soon we figure.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it started from, and putting Canada on the world stage and becoming a world leader, and a place where every country is envious of us, and we're looked upon that. We're looked upon our banks and how stable this country is. I mean, we don't have, we're not losing a province yet, I hope.
Very good. No, we're not.
I just don't understand what Harper did to earn this. I mean, you have to look at the fact that everything that he is given credit for was really the Liberals that built it, and the stable economy. And in fact, I would say that he's not a world leader in many instances, especially with the environment. He's been an embarrassment to Canada, and many countries have felt that he has been taking a backward stance, especially around the environment.
All right, so you don't agree with that. Well, it's my turn, panel, right now, and I'm going to offer an opinion on a topic close to Hamilton, and then I'm going to ask you to chime in, all right? And this has to do with a hot topic which has been brewing in Hamilton since the province decided to stop funding horse racing at Flamborough, and of course, perhaps stop supporting the casino that's at Flamborough Downs as well. And so the question is, where will the casino go? Should it come downtown? I know that there are some private interests willing to invest their own money to support a casino presence downtown. I know that we've had a vote, even before amalgamation, on whether to support a casino in the downtown or not. And there's a heated debate going on among some on the pro side and the con side. I say go for it. Alex, what do you say?
Absolutely not. I don't understand why you would even want a casino downtown, Larry. I mean, they don't look very well. They're not physically, pleasing to the eye. You have to think about what kind of people that this attracts. That it's many issues.
All right, we're running out of time, so it's got to be fast. Tara, go.
Oh. They take away too much business from the bingo hall, so I don't think that they should come down.
All right.
I don't have a problem with them at all. I mean, and you said they don't look good. I mean, they will look fantastic.
This guy's a gambler right now.
You know what? You look at the casinos in Las Vegas; they all look pretty good to me.
Yeah, with a lot of people with death stares.
Well, listen,
they do not.
Listen,
I mean,
this is going to be a topic that's going to be talked about, and if people say read urbanicity, there's an article in there. Thank you for watching. Come back next week when our panelists will share their opinions again.
Tara Crugnale's Hair by Ludi Mamoda Hair and Aesthetic Studio, 169 James Street North in downtown Hamilton.